By the end of this tutorial, you should be able to create your own radio station app using the player component, and we'll be able to modify, change the volume properties, make it louder and quieter, just like that. Let's get started. What's up everyone, my name is Donal and I'm here to help you build better apps. In today's video, what I'm going to do is show you how to use the player component to create your own internet radio station, or its radio streaming app at the very least. So I've got a little picture of an old school vintage radio here. It's got two different dials on it here, and I'm actually going to create two different radio stations, or stream two different radio stations. So I'm going to put all my buttons side by side. I'm going to use a horizontal arrangement to do that. And I like to set the width here to be fill parent, just because it makes it a little bit easier to work with. The user interface then, as per usual, I'm going to keep things simple. I'm going to add in 3 buttons here. The first 2 are going to be for my different genres of music, my 2 different radio stations. And the third one here is going to be a stop button like this. So let's rename and change the text properties of everything, and we'll get back to it then. Okay, so once you're happy then with kind of the look and the layout of your buttons on the screen, what we're going to do is add in a slider component at the bottom to control the volume. So we'll take a look here. I've done a tutorial on the slider before. If you want to learn a little bit more about that one, check out the link above there. And because this is going to be for the volume, I'm going to set the min and max values to 0 and 100, like that. Now, so the main part of this application then is in the media folder, and we want to use the player component. So again, I think I've mentioned this before, but if you click on the question mark, it gives you a description here of what this kind of component is well suited for, or good scenarios where it should be used. So this player then is suited for longer files. This component is best for long sound files such as songs, while the sound component is more efficient for short files such as sound effects. So what we'll do is we'll add this in here. It's a non-visible component, and we're going to toggle the source here in our code. So we won't bother doing anything here. The default volume is 50. If I wanted that to match up with my slider, maybe I should set that to 30, I suppose. Like that. If we were loading a song, a local MP3 file or something like that, we could loop it. We could get it to play over and over again. That's one thing we could do. And then there's an interesting feature here with the sound components and the player component, is that it can actually play in the background. So you could create a little music app, you could have a playlist going, and then you could jump into some other application, your social media, or not a video app, not something that makes noise, not something that plays sound, but you could have this property here checked or unchecked to set whether or not you can play stuff in the foreground or have it play away in the background while you're doing something else. So it's a useful thing to know about. What sort of files then can we play here? What sort of information can we specify as the source? In the Android documentation itself then, we've got a list here. We can have 3GP files, we've got MP4s, M4As, we've got AACs, so quite a few different file types here. You can have FLAC files, you can have all of these different MIDI file formats as well, if you happen to have any of those. MP3s, of course, probably one of the most common ones, and lots of people then have WAV files or OGG files as well. And so any of those files then are as the supported audio files or supported audio formats in the player component. What I'm going to do then is, because we were creating a little radio station, I found some Creative Commons radio stations that should hopefully be fine to play in the video. So the first one here is Radio 35 Hip Hop. I'm going to just copy this URL here, like this. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard, and I'm going to paste that then as the source for player 1. So we're ready now. We've got all the information that we need. Let's go add some functionality in the blocks editor. Once we're ready to code, then what we'll do is when the hip hop button is pressed, what we're going to do is set the source of player 1 to be the hip hop music station then that we've copied the stream to. And you just use a piece of text like this. So you can go in here, Control V or Command V will paste the URL like that. And then you can stop the player then by clicking on the stop button. So in player 1, we've got a start button, that should go up here, and we've got a stop procedure, which should go down here like that. Okay, so that's half of the app done at this stage. What we'll do then is we'll duplicate this, and when we have the rock button clicked, we want to change out this source, and we're going to start the player again. Down here then we have, there was the one I found earlier, it has a link directly to the MP3 file. So Rhino the Bearded, we can click or copy all of this here again. Control C, Command C will work on Windows or Mac, and Control or Command V to paste into your blocks editor like that. So this should do the trick here. The final thing I might do then is the volume controls while I'm here altogether. When I move the position here, what we'll do is set the volume then of our player to be the thumb position. It'd be nice as well to get a little bit of feedback. So again, a handy place to do that is in the title, like that. Let's duplicate and let's show a number to the user as well, like that. Okay, so I think we're ready now to test this out and to have a look at it in our live testing app. Alright, so over here now we've got our nice little picture of a radio. We've got our 2 different radio stations. And now when we click the buttons, it'll take a little while for it to load. And what I'll do is I'll hold the phone up to the microphone as well, so you can hopefully hear it a bit better. Okay, so we've got our hip hop station is playing there. That took maybe about 20 or even maybe as much as 30 seconds to kind of buffer and to stream. If I hold it up here, you'll be able to hear it a little bit more clearly. Alright, and then what I can do is I can move the slider up and down. I can turn the volume off like that. So, should probably make that slider a little bit wider, a little bit tricky to use there. Let's click on rock then. Let's change the stream, let's change the source. Again, it'll go through the same process there. It'll download it, it'll start buffering it. So maybe we'd use a little notifier. Again, you can check out the notifier tutorial to learn more about that. Have that display for even 15 or 20 seconds while the music is buffering. And there we go, you can probably hear that now. Alright, so we've got the ability to chop and change between different stations. And what I can do is if I hit the stop button, that stops the stream. Let's go back to our designer then and set the width of this to be full paired, so that's a little bit easier to use. That looks much better now on my phone anyway. So let's go back to our screencast here. Let's click on our rock music then. Again, we could add in our notifier, tell the user that it's buffering, that it's streaming. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more tutorials in the future, click on the subscribe button. If you have any questions then relating to using the player component or any information about different sorts of file formats, what sort of file formats have you used in your apps, please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.